So what is the secret killer of entrepreneurship? What is one trait that people have which will stop them from becoming entrepreneurs? I actually got this question on Twitter, and it was from Human-T. He's asked a few questions, and I've answered all of them in videos. So if you have a question, tweet them at me. Anyways, let's get started here. What is the killer of entrepreneurship? Does anyone know what this is? Take a guess. I'll give you a few seconds. Oh, and my writing is messy. It is perfectionism. You're going to have to trust me on this one. I'm going to explain why this is, and why, trust me, I've researched so many investors, so many successful people, I've talked to so many successful people, and perfectionism is what kills businesses, what kills potential entrepreneurs, but more importantly, it kills people's ability to start a business. So that's the number one thing, is that starting a business, you know what, launching a business is a better example. So if you're a perfectionist, here's generally what happens. I've seen this with so many of my peers that have this great idea, and then they work on it, but then they don't make any money from it. I'm going to explain why. So let's just say you have this great product you want to sell, okay? So you work on this product forever. It takes a month or 2 months, 3 months, but it's not perfect yet. Maybe you're building a website. Okay, let's just say it's a website now. Let's transition to that. So you spend a month working on that, and you're trying to perfect it, but then you make these little tweaks, and suddenly 2 or 3 months go by, and then you've given up hope. The website will never be perfect. You never launch. And so perfectionism, what it does is it kills your ability to start a business. Because one of the biggest tips I got when I was starting out and all this stuff is that being done and first is better than being perfect and second. So what do I mean by that? I have a few examples here. There's lots of computers that are better than a Mac. But guess what? A Mac was one of the first computers to hit the market. They got it out there as fast as possible. Now, saying that, Steve Jobs is the only entrepreneur, actually, I was going to mention. He's like the ultimate perfectionist. He wanted every little thing done on the Mac or on the iPod or on the iTouch or whatever to go through him. And he wanted to approve every single little thing to make sure it was perfect. And that drove a lot of his company crazy. He got fired in the 80s because it drove the company crazy how much of a perfectionist he was. But you know what? In the 90s, when he got hired back, that's what created the iPod. That's what created the iTouch. All right? His perfectionism. But he is an outlier. Malcolm Gladwell's outlier. So he's an exception to the rule. The vast majority of entrepreneurs don't have a perfect product or a perfect business. Okay? Take, for example, Coca-Cola. Here's another business one that you should think of. Coca-Cola. Why are they worth tens of billions of dollars? It's because they were the first soda on the market, and they have been a company since 1880s? 1880s. I'm actually going to make a separate video on that. But they aren't the best tasting drink out there. Pepsi, to a lot of people, Pepsi tastes better because it's sweeter. And there's the generic colas, and then there's a bunch of other fountain drinks and soft drinks and all that stuff. But guess what? Coca-Cola was first. And that's why they're the most valuable soft drink in the world right now. Do you think that in the 1880s that the guy who was making Coca-Cola is just oh, it doesn't taste perfect. I got to change this and this and this. No, I think he was putting cocaine. Wasn't he putting cocaine in Coca-Cola? That's probably a myth, by the way. Don't listen to that. But what I'm trying to say here is that perfectionism is if you work too much on your product and don't launch the business and don't try to sell, guess what? You're not going to make any money and the business is going to fail. When I started real estate stuff, I didn't have a perfect website. I still haven't even finished it because I kind of realized that stuff doesn't have to be perfect. As long as you have something, you will be able to have a successful business. I still haven't finished my website for that. I didn't have a great marketing campaign. I didn't know how to do a marketing. Well, I didn't know how to do one because that was my job for a while. But I didn't really know how to make a marketing campaign. Here's another big thing is that I didn't think that I knew enough about the career I was in. I didn't think I knew enough about real estate to the point where I didn't think that people would want to use me as an agent or consultant or whatever it may be. Even though I knew a lot about real estate, I just didn't think I knew as much as I should have, and that it turns out that when you start talking to other agents and stuff, I do know a good amount for the most part. But like, imagine if I had just waited until I knew everything there is to know about real estate. I still would be 10 years away from getting my license. I'd want to know every single little thing. What if I waited until I had a nice camera and a whiteboard and all this studio set up before I started making YouTube videos? I probably wouldn't have made one. So what I'm trying to say here is that as long as you have something, it doesn't need to be perfect for it to become a business. And so yeah, perfectionism can kill you from even starting a business. But the other thing too is if you're a perfectionist, you generally have high expectations. And when you don't get those results right away, a lot of the times perfectionists just end up quitting. You know, I have that kind of rule where 95% of entrepreneurs, people that call themselves entrepreneurs, they don't even take action to start a business. They just call themselves entrepreneurs because they're interested in entrepreneurship and maybe they make $100 on the side. They're not entrepreneurs. But that 5% that do take action, only a very small percentage of those people will continue with their entrepreneurship journey because a lot of the times you fail. You fail when you start off. If you're a perfectionist, that would suck. Like you expect, because you built this potentially perfect product or perfect business or service or whatever it may be, you think that you're going to have great, fantastic results right out of the gate. 99% of the time that doesn't happen. There are so many obstacles you're going to have to face, and perfectionists, it's not going to work. You're going to quit if you're a perfectionist most of the time. And that's the other thing too about if you are a perfectionist is that it takes you so much longer to jump by hurdles and obstacles and to make decisions and to do things than someone who's just, like what's that guy, I forget his name, it's like the sheriff, or he's like the Texas guy from The Simpsons who just shoots his guns all the time. Like he's not thinking about anything, and that guy in the show is like a millionaire. That's what I think about as successful decision-making entrepreneurs, like the drunk cowboy from The Simpsons. That's how fast you should be making your decisions in entrepreneurship, like as fast as possible. And there's that rule, like if you're going to fail or make a mistake, make sure you do it as fast as possible. And if you're a perfectionist, it's like you're dying a slow death. And do you really want that? Or would you want to just go right away? Most people would choose the quick and painless way and just get it over with, and then you can, rebuild. You can get reincarnated in this example. Wow, this really took a different turn than I thought. I wasn't supposed to be talking about death and perfectionism. But you know what? Perfectionism is death of a business. There we go. See how we went full circle there? Oh God. Anyways, well, I did not write anything on this board here. That's okay. But the killer of entrepreneurship is perfectionism. So make sure, here's just to summarize, make decisions as fast as possible. It doesn't matter if your product isn't perfect. As long as you have a product and it's not complete shit, then you have a chance of at least creating a business. And then here's the other thing too. I talked about this in my program upcoming, is that when you're building a product, a lot of the times what happens is, like, I'll give you the Apple example. The Apple I computer, he was good, but it wasn't great, kind of thing. You know what really made Apple computers big is Apple II, the next generation computer. So what they did was the very first computer, sorry, I just dropped my marker. The very first computer was just good enough to get it onto the market. That's what it was. Even though Steve Jobs was a perfectionist, it was just good enough to get it on the market. And then Apple II came out. They were able to upgrade Apple I to Apple II, and a few years later, and guess what? Everyone loved it. They made a bunch of money, and they built a successful business. But it wouldn't have been possible for them to make the billions of dollars that they do now if they didn't build that Apple I first and have a maybe subpar to par product first. So that's super important. All right, we're going to wrap this up here. Yeah, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. What do you think? What do you think about perfectionism in entrepreneurship? I might be wrong on this. Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think that perfecting your product is the most important thing? I would disagree. Let me know if you disagree with me. So leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, all that stuff, and I will see you guys in the next video.